Welcome to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, where we talk with martial arts practitioners about their histories and the influence that their practice of martial arts has on their lives. You are listening to the free version of this podcast, which is abbreviated. Help support this program by considering to subscribe to us on Patreon, where you will get 4 full-length podcasts each month, 1 week before the YouTube release date. The cost is that of about 1 coffee shop coffee per month. Go to www.patreon.com/malmag to subscribe. That is www.patreon.com/malmag. If you would like to purchase single full-length episodes of the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, visit our Gumroad page at malmag.gumroad.com, and that is malmag.gumroad.com. This week is a special episode in that it is the 50th episode. Reaching such a milestone, it's hard to believe that we're here already. It's been a great ride so far, and I'd like to give extra special thanks to our patrons on Patreon: Alex, Easy A, Joey Miyamoto, William Hurst, Louis Agaris, Mark H., Lee Groh, Diana Rathborn, Jay, John Arden, Lenore Kelly, Paul McCarthy, Christine Vomar, Kurt Cornwell, Tanya, William Wood, James Neidlinger, Dan Forsey, Christopher Harley, and Greg Wilson. Thanks a lot, folks. You guys have really helped make this show possible. I'd like to thank you, the audience, for being with us. I would like to thank the guests who have made this podcast possible: Kent Nelson, David Bertrand, Ian Galdi, Kurt Cornwell twice, James Neidlinger, the Richardson brothers, Jordan Bridges, Mike Yuski, Paulo Padilla, Marcus Charles, Atticus Todd, Michael Perez, Dwight Woods, Ryan Burke, Brandon Ryan, Brian Stoops, our drummers Michael Dubin, Euro Zambrano, and Alex Acuna, Marvin Ishmael, Annie Conklin, Natasha Lapore, Jay Cooper, Adam Rector, Lee Groh, John Doty, Diem Nguyen, Diana Rathborn, Katie O'Brien, Harlan Hugh, Henry Mortensen, Miguel DeCos, Chris Harley, Nick Hahn, Louis Agaris, Steve Holly, Matt Stump, Jackie Rayner, Mick Tully, another drummer David Anderson, Danielle Bertel, Josh Pryor, Krista Starlock, Donna Myers, Patrick Kelly, Josh Gold, Randall Henry, Michael Krivka, William Hurst, Sid Siddiqui, and with this being the 50th episode, jumped out there and got some great guests for you: Kathy Long and Restita DeJesus. Sit back and enjoy. Welcome to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, and this is a milestone. This is episode number 50, or show number 50.
Wow,
so hard for me to believe that I've done 50 shows. It's kind of cool. That started
That's
putting
very
it out,
cool.
last year, like mid-December. So for show 50, I'm like, okay, I've got to get some really special people that'll be very interesting. Is not as if anybody I've interviewed is not interesting. They've all been very interesting people, but these are 2 very special people to me. This is Coach Kathy Long and Sensei Restita DeJesus, and they're going to kind of go by. They'll tell you what to call them anyway. Not bad things, but it's so awesome to have you 2 here. You've been some wonderful people to me from the beginning of me meeting you guys, and of course, with Coach Kat, I've read about you since I was starting in martial arts, which is the early 1980s, in the magazines and stuff. So that was always a big pleasure to me when you came and taught a class at the Inosanto Academy, and I'm like, all right, I get to meet somebody that's I've read about a lot. So,
well, what was
welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What a huge pleasure for me when I was teaching at the Inosanto Academy, and you would be there. And you're just a wonderful person, and I was so happy I got to know you for the little bit of time that I was there. 9 years. Yeah,
a little bit of time. She says.
I guess in the larger context, that's a little bit of time, right?
That's a little bit of time.
It's a little bit of time.
Yes, and what a delightful human being you are, and I'm so grateful.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think we should start maybe generally I kind of go into people's histories and stuff, and maybe we'll get to that in a second, but maybe we should kind of, because people ask me a lot actually, hey, are you still teaching there? And I said, no, I actually have her old class. She's in Seattle now. So maybe you guys give the audience a little heads up on what you're up to now currently.
What I'm up to now currently is I'm teaching at Restita School, which is the Seattle Wushu Center in West Seattle. And I am teaching Kung Fu Sansu and kickboxing.
Okay.
Yeah. So having a blast with that, really enjoying it. And so happy to be back to teaching Kung Fu Sansu because, honestly, I believe that everything that I learned in Kung Fu Sansu, I was able to apply into kickboxing.
Definitely.
And it just made a gigantic difference. And I look back and I think, wow, I don't know that I could have been or would have been the fighter that I was without my Sansu training.
Wow.
Super grateful for that.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy to be back to teaching that art that I love so much.
Well, we'll definitely get into that because I don't think a lot of people really understood that you had that background. I say they all know you were a kickboxer, but kickboxers generally come from something, at least in that area.
Indeed, they do. Yeah.
They came out of something. Like I know the first school I trained at, we had a PKA kickboxing group because the instructor was a trainer and a fighter himself, and we had people out of a kung fu background, people out of the karate background, people out of the taekwondo background, and even some folks in there that were Shorinji Kempo background because we had some Shorinji Kempo guy teaching a class there. So it was pretty neat. Now, Rusty, you've had that school in Seattle for a while, yeah?
Yeah, I actually opened commercially in 1991. And it's been through several incarnations.
Ago, but that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a long time ago, but that is a long time ago. 1991, yeah, I was like 20 something, like going on 24, I think. But prior to that, I was teaching a style called Butokukan karate in the Seattle Community Center Parks and Recreation systems, right? Was doing that since 1982, but then I figured, gosh, I'm all grown up now. Maybe I should try opening my own dojo. And but all the fear excuses came into play. Where how am I going to pay for the overhead? I don't have any students. I just didn't think clearly enough that I had students in the parks and recreation system. It's just that I just wasn't like savvy in the thinking that maybe I could just take them, and bring them over to a commercial studio, right? But I took the plunge and tried it, and I was just teaching during the evenings while working full-time at night. But anyway, since then, we've undergone several name changes and several incarnations, and like 5 buildings later, and here we are.
There you go. Yeah, that was kind of like me. And when we opened our first brick and mortar school, it was 1982-ish. We were in the park.
That means we were like, what, 17?
Yeah, 17 to 18, in between those two ages, 17 and 18. And yeah, we opened it. We had just enough students that we were working with in the park and between the two of us, the person that I was with, we scraped together enough money to pay the first and last month's rent on a brick and mortar school, and had no idea how we were going to pay the second month's rent.
And even then, back then, if rent was like $300, $400, that was expensive.
Oh, rent was $1,200.
Yeah, back then, and $1,200 would have been impossible for me at that time.
Yeah, $1,200 was the rent that we were, and it was $1 a foot at that time. It was really cheap, we thought. Yeah. I mean, it was, but still $1 a foot in the worst part of the neighborhood, where all kinds of riffraff were there.
I'm surprised they were asking that much in the worst part of town.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
It's funny. I remember that year because that's when I started martial art, 82. And it was like, $25 a month.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. I remember it was like at the community center, it was like literally $30. It was $10 per month. So it was $30 a quarter.
Wow.
And and it was it was really cool. But yeah, I sure didn't make a whole heck of a lot of money after I got my black belt. So it was time to go commercial at that point.
Well, that's awesome. So, so everybody knows you can go to Seattle and you can find these ladies up there. Plus, they're very busy with. You guys are kind of in demand from what I'm seeing. I've seen you at several events of late, and then you run one of my favorite things, which inspired me a bit. You have a podcast show that you do every Sunday, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty much every Sunday. There are some Sundays we just can't do because we're going somewhere or doing something else. But as many Sundays as we can make it.
Yeah.
You guys are doing the brave thing. You're going down live, right? I pre-record all my stuff, so
we were just talking about that not too long ago. But just to backtrack a little bit so the viewers can get an idea. Our show is Dynamic Dojo Talk TV. Used to be Dynamic Dojo Talk Radio, and my previous co-host Robert Deal and I started that show in 2012. And I look back at that and go, oh my gosh, that's some time ago. But 2012.
Yeah, it seems like yesterday too. What the heck?
Yeah.
What do you mean? That was just a year ago, right? Right.
That was when podcasts and stuff like that were, starting to be like the thing, right? I remember like blogs were the thing a little bit before that, and then podcasts started to become the thing. So I'm like, okay, let's try it. Let's try the podcast thing. It was actually Robert Deal's idea that we do this show, and 24 hours later, I did some research, got on Blog Talk Radio, and poof, we had a show. And we were faithfully, religiously on every Sunday. For about like 5 years, 6 years, until about, well, I guess it was more than that, because until about like 3 years ago, we were on faithfully every Sunday. But then like life happened.
That thing, that damn life thing.
That damn life thing. Life happened, and teaching at other places, traveling and stuff like that. We found it hard to do that. And also even with the weekly grind, it was hard to set up a show for every Sunday. So we've taken the show and we've kind of like turned it into a maybe twice, is it bi-weekly, twice a month type of thing.
Okay, good to hear, because half the time I get so busy, life happens to me on Sundays too, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm missing their show.
Yeah.
Find out sometimes
so,
not. So I feel better.
Okay. You haven't been on at all this month, except for one thing, right?
Yeah, just once so far.
Yeah, just once so far.
We've
this
just
month.
Been super busy, which is, in one way a good thing. I'm teaching seminars and we're traveling a little bit, so that's really hopeful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. I'm just so grateful to even be asked to teach a seminar at this point. It's been really nice. And
And I mean, I advise anybody that's listening, please, now that Coach Kat, the rest of you that they're out there doing seminars, please check them out, book them, because these are some very knowledgeable people. And I learned a lot. I mean, a lot in your class that I still pass on.
I'm so glad that you pass it on, because
I still end my class the same way you did, because I loved it. I love the whole hands in the middle, hard work on 3. I do that all the time. That's how I end the class.
Yay.
Nice.
Yay. I'm so glad.
My little kids, they'll roar. Tigers on 3, 1, 2, 3.
I love it.
Yeah, so cute.
Little guys are just so little guys and gals are just so cute when they do their hard work on 3.
And that's really something. And I think it's a cool topic that you guys touch in your podcast a lot, about teaching kids and that. And it's fine, because it's funny, because you find that almost like these two camps in adults: people who absolutely will do it and people who absolutely not, won't do it, don't participate.
Right.
And it's interesting. So how did you guys end up in the camp of, yes, absolutely will?
Well, I've always been like a believer of teaching kids because, I was 15 years old when I got my black belt and was given a class the very next week after I,
Here
had
you
a
go.
weekend of like recovering from that black belt test, right? And and I found that that particular class had a mix of teens, kids, and young adults. And I found that like at that time, the young adults, you could tell that they were kind of like about some kid telling them what to do. Okay,
Right.
let's drop for push-ups. Let's do sit-ups. Let's do horse stance walk. Let's do, and it was kind of like, in my head, I'm thinking, hello, do you not see what I'm wearing?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean,
So,
fortunately, I didn't have that problem. I was, 18. So in that respect, I was looked at as an adult because
because you're 18, but I
Because I
never
was
looked like
18.
one.
Yeah. Well, I didn't look like an adult either. Trust me.
I wasn't tall enough to be an adult.
Yeah, that's the rough part of being an Islander there, Rusty.
You know,
You always gotta look like
exactly.
this little,
Yeah.
little thing.
Little things. I was a little thing. And I thought to myself, kids, and youngsters that are ready to become adults, deserve as much respect as adults, right? So whenever I taught the kids, I would never try to talk down to them. I mean, with the little kids, I would use a slightly different Mr. Rogers voice,
Well, of course,
that kind of thing. But but at the same time, I knew I couldn't talk to them like they were adults and, try to include like adult type, explanations of, chi or anything like that.
Right.
So, and that's part of the respect, I think, is to teach them in a way that that they can learn and teach them as much as they can digest at any time, rather than saying, well, I teach adult stuff. We teach people how to kill. We teach people how to hurt each other, right? We teach people how to hurt people. And it's kind of like, well, why can't we teach kids to do that? Because there are adults that will hurt kids too. So
There are, as a Kung Fu Sansu practitioner, that's what I taught. I taught kids how to
hurt,
stick your fingers knuckle deep in their eye and crush their testicles, hit them in the windpipe, stomp with their knee,
yell fire, and and
but you know what? None of the kids that I taught ever had a problem with that in their school. Like they would come to me and tell me that they're being picked on and they're saying, what should I do? And I said, the important thing is go to a teacher right away first. But if you're at a point where you're being overwhelmed, then you have to defend yourself. And I will come to the school if I have to and defend you as well. So, you have to do what you have to do. But if you can avoid it, I would tell them, if you can avoid it, avoid it. If you can run away from it, run away. It's okay. There's no shame in running away because you know what you can do. You've been training in Kung Fu Sansu for how long now? And they look at me like, well, 3 years. I'm like, okay.
That's a long time.
You know it.
Yeah.
It's a long time to be sticking your fingers in knuckle deep in somebody's eye, hitting the windpipe and hitting their groin and stomping on the knees. And they know how to do it, but they just, they were just, I kept preaching all the times, if somebody's picking on you, go tell a teacher. Don't handle it.
Don't just handle it right then and there. Yeah. And that's the hard thing. Cause like sometimes kids, they can't like justify, well, why am I learning this if I can't do that? And I've had to do the same thing. I've actually had to go to a student's classroom and literally shadow them for half the day because they were being bullied.
Right.
With that bully being in the same class. And I literally would sit there, and tell him, you know what, he's going to try to come after you. He's going to try to come after you after I leave. Why'd you bring your martial art teacher? You can't fight your own battles, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And you just say, no, I can fight my own battles. I just needed that help to make sure that I chose wisely. And
Yeah.
and that's exactly what he said. And dude never messed with him again.
Yeah. I mean, with the kids, I tell them you're allowed to defend yourself. I mean, if they're coming at you, then you're allowed
Yeah.
to defend yourself.
Right.
But you don't stomp on them when they've hit the
When
ground.
they're down, yeah. Don't break anything
Right.
when they're down.
Right.
Don't crush their testicles.
You know?
Yeah, that's why
So-
I've been teaching the kids the old leg kick and the old knee to the quad, because like those things sound silly. I mean, they hurt, they're painful.
But
Those
they
of us-
hurt like heck.
they hurt. I said, no,
Yeah.
they'll make the person really reevaluate what they're doing to you or trying to
Right.
do. And then it
Yeah.
sounds stupid if they go and tell, well, so-and-so kicked me in the leg. Oh, they kicked you in the leg? Yeah. What? Okay, walk it off. You know, that's going to be the
Yeah.
response. The average, adult or school police officer or something go, oh, they kicked you in the leg? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, kind of like walk it off, grow up, kind of.
Yeah. But even then, those hurt.
They're not life threatening, but boy, will they make you reevaluate what the hell you're doing.
Yeah. My kids, I teach them in my Kaji Campbell class the same thing, hit the quad, hit the IT band, if you're gonna, or hit the very front of the thigh right below the hip, that kind of thing with the knee.
I tell you what, if you're
Punch them right in the
if you're not used to getting kicked in the leg, that
it hurts like heck.
I'm used to
Stop
it.
a
It
fight
still
like
sucks.
that.
Yeah. I've once had teenagers where, we used to have like the red man suits.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called now, but we used to have the red man suits. We had a teenager years ago that could round kick us, and we would feel it through the red man protector, and we'd be like, oh my God, why is Dom kicking so hard?
Because you can't.
My femur hurts, right?
I got a
can feel it in my
12-year-old that I do private lessons with, and I put just a regular sort of soft shin pad on my thigh today and let him unload a couple. I'm like, no, that's not going to do. That's not going to do. I need something a little thicker.
So he let loose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have, for my fighters, I would wear a protective guard over my thighs that was designed just for, people kicking you in the leg, along with my belly guard. And I just thank God, yes, because I would let them go as hard as they wanted to go, because they needed to understand, how hard and they were certainly allowed, because I'd be hitting them back. I had my gloves on and I'd be hitting them back, but I wanted them to really develop good hard kicks, and I would move and I'd make sure that they weren't able to I didn't just stand there and let them wail on me.
Right.
They had to earn it. They had to get that and earn it. But once they got it, they got it.
I was afraid that, some of the big teenagers would literally like throw a round kick with the red man suit stuff on and literally pick my legs up off the floor. That's what I was afraid of, because I've seen it happen with other people. And wham, and both legs and and it's like, I don't want that.
I had my shin guards on, so I'd check that leg kick. Yeah.
Well, at the time I was like 120 pounds soaking wet, and here's the big teenagers that are like 150 something,
right?
Wham! It's like,
yeah.
No thanks.
So, the 12-year-old that I was telling you about. So I got his older brother too, who's about 16. This kid's an athlete, so he's a lacrosse player and stuff. So he's really athletic, naturally athletic, which is great. I mean, so he used some kicks in there pretty good. And I kept telling him, I'm like, okay, you're the one keeping me in shape. And then I got private client with a guy who's probably one of the top PT guys actually in Southern California, teaches at USC. He's giant, like my size. So now he wails on me, and I tell Jonah, no, you're not number one. You're number two now, buddy. The other guy's making me a brick wall. I said, you feel
that is so awesome.
That is.
Yeah, I like it. Well, the client loves it because he's like, man, you're big. I can open up and really hit. I'm like, yes, and I prefer that you do. It keeps me from getting too soft, because I got I don't know, Coach, I don't know if you ever met Natasha. So Natasha and AJ, the two like teenagers that I trained. So Natasha's like 95 pounds if she's lucky. So she's sort of my main training partner. And I tell her, just whale, just open up. I don't want you to go light. I want you to get used, because you have to use this for real. If you can neutralize my size, you can neutralize anybody. So, I mean, she's hard and stuff, but I got to be kind of light with it. And it's not a heavy person really whaling on me. So I do get a little soft, I think, getting used to that.
I had a training partner when I was boxing professionally, and he was 7'2".
Oof. Yeah. There you go.
Dang.
And, I'm 5'5", right? So what I would do is, while he would shadow box, punching over my head, and I would shadow box by punching him in the stomach and the abs and the ribs, right? Nice. And he would let me hit just as hard as I possibly could. And it took about 20 minutes later, he'd be going, okay, I need a break. Hold on.
It's okay. You hit hard.
Take a few minutes off, and then we'd go right back to it. Right? Yeah. And I'd be just wailing away in his body as hard as I could. It was a great way to train, and to be able to hit hard. Yeah. Hit the right targets. But he was super tall.
Exactly.
Super tall. Well, I'd be able to see somebody's crotch. If somebody, that's all I'd be able to see. 7'2". It's like,
yeah, he was big.
Yeah, that makes me look like a shrimp.
What's that?
Yeah, that makes me look like a shrimp. I mean, I'm like 6'4", so someone 7'2" is really going to be towering over even me.
Like, I'm looking at our ceiling right now, going,
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Our ceiling should be 9 foot. It's like that's
a crazy thought, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. Well, let's backtrack a little bit. Let's kind of talk about superhero origin stories here. Let's talk about how you guys got involved in martial arts and what you were doing, because I know you both have a varied background that's really fascinating. So let's learn a little bit more about that.
Oh, she's like pointing at me. You go first.
Well, you do a lot of stuff, Rusty. It's like it's funny listening to you on your podcast, because I'm like, oh my God, you really have a really varied background. That's really fascinating.
And what's funny, I was when I was talking to someone else about this earlier today, I said, he said the same thing. You've got like a varied background, and a lot of people would think that you'd probably be a belt chaser. And I said, no, I was more of like what will round me out and fill the chinks in my armor,
the holes in your repertoire,
and the holes in my repertoire.
Exactly.
And I started in 1978. Studying Butokukan karate, and attained a Nidan, or a second degree black belt in that. However, during that time, I was.
And this concludes the abbreviated version of the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast. Please click the like and subscribe buttons, as well as the notification bell. Also consider subscribing to the full-length podcast at www.patreon.com/malmag, or purchasing individual full-length episodes at malmag.gumroad.com. Thank you for listening to our 50th episode with Rusty and Kat. Coming up next week, I hook up to the UK again, and I talk to yet another high-caliber UK JKD martial artist, Terry Valor. Check out the Malmag store at www.martialartslifestylemagazine.com and click on the store tab. There, you will find a full selection of Timmy B's brand sticks for FMA and Kirby Kerbong, as well as Timmy B's and Dos Manos t-shirts. Many more products coming soon. Also click on our courses tab to purchase online courses, right now featuring a course in the Dos Manos stick of FMA. More courses to come. This show is produced by Martial Arts Lifestyle Magazine. Visit us at www.martialartslifestylemagazine.com and enjoy the free version of our online magazine with articles, a recommended schools page, and a worldwide events calendar. Music by Jackal Relic. Martial Arts Lifestyle Magazine and the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast are trademarked and copyrighted by TNT LLC.